on. So we can go ahead and get started. Oh, I hear someone coming. So we can get started anyway. Hi, Sean.
Hi.
We're just getting started.
Great. I was just saying hi to Doug.
Hi, Kelly. So I think I sent this out in the email that our topic today is scheduled to be a discussion about parks and all the wonderful things that have been happening with Parks and Recreation since we last talked about it. And I think it was kind of probably in the spring.
Yeah, it was like right when I took over.
When you started and talked about what you were planning for the summer. That is the only thing I have on our schedule today. We can kind of talk about a few end of year wrap up stuff and what's going to happen at our next meetings. But I asked Lindsay to come. I think you guys all know very well that she's our Parks and Recreation coordinator. Mark McNeil, the chair of the Parks Committee, could not come, but he did send Lindsay some topics and points that he asked her to share with you guys today, just as probably a lot of the same stuff Lindsay was going to share anyway. And so without further ado, Lindsay, I'll give you a chance to fill us in on all the things you guys have been busy with.
Yeah, so last time I came, we talked about what we were going to be doing for summer into fall. So I just wanted to give you guys an update on some of the awesome things my team has been working on. So one of our bigger projects that we completed this summer were improving the trails at Blue Heron Park. So my team redid all the trails, put new pressure runs, stone dust down so the trails are usable. But we also created accessibility by putting in a new parking lot with a connection to the pavilion, which connects to the trails. And in addition to that, we also put a accessible porta potty over there too. So what we noticed this summer from all the work we've been doing over there is that people use that park a lot more than I think we realized, especially around lunchtime. We would see that parking lot full during lunch for lunch breaks. So it was really exciting to us and obviously really important to put in that parking lot with a bathroom and then just improving that trails. And we got a lot of compliments from our residents all summer. So definitely a huge improvement. We also tried to update the pavilion a little bit so it was more appealing for people. We put flower baskets on the outside and just really spruced it up. And Blue Heron Park is going to be the center of Uptown, as a lot of you guys have probably heard about Uptown and the developments going in and all of that. So improving that park was really, really important. It's something that we're going to continue to build upon. Has anyone had a chance to go over to Blue Heron Park in the past couple months?
I stopped by. The parking lot looks really nice, and I did go by this summer when the flowers were up, and it looked really nice.
Yeah, that's so too. We are going to also have the parking lot striped. So that is just something that we're working on with a vendor, but just like everyone else, unfortunately, they're very behind, supply issues, that sort of thing. So that is still something that is outstanding that needs to be done. And then we're also working on the geese population that we have over there, just having it at a more appropriate level to not destroy, our parkland. Geese are a little bit aggressive too as you're walking through. So that's something that we are going to work with, the DEC on. So that's something for next year. So in addition to Blue Heron Park, Motion Junction, so Outhouse Park West, has obviously been a huge focus. I'm not sure if anyone had the chance to volunteer this summer, but we had over 700, I think it was closer to 800 volunteers for the week of the build. So the playground structure itself is up, it's ready to go. And then we're hoping by spring to have that special material put down. What's it called, like foam concrete?
It's poured in place rubber something.
I think it's rubber concrete. Yeah. So that's really a huge part. So we're actually going after some grants for that because of the ADA accessibility piece. And then we're also looking at putting in the pavilion and potentially another building. So we're hoping to have the playground open with the pavilion ready by Memorial Day. That's our goal. So that way people can play. We'll have a nice little celebration. I know the special events committee has talked about, putting on a celebration. So thank you, Oksana, for, getting that initial stuff together. What else? Oh, so Ononda Park. We were able to actually gauge our occupancy this past summer, which was really cool, based on our new reservation system. So for the month of July, we were at 100% capacity, which is huge. So that gauges the usage of our parks right there. So now we can identify which is our busiest time of year versus what's a little bit slower. It's easier to coordinate some public events, which I have a couple events planned for next year already at Ononda, that like a car show. We've also had a ton of weddings this summer too, which was really exciting. But in addition to that, we have started our improvements for the uplands. So we did have our initial meeting with MRB, which is the town engineer, and we are working on creating more accessibility to the uplands, having it a more versatile area up top. So we talked about potential tent sites, improving the cabins, possibly having a more, glamping experience, better parking. So that was a really exciting meeting. So next year, we're gonna be doing a lot of planning to improve the uplands and Ononda. What else do we got here? Our recreation program over summer, I just wanted to touch base on really quick. So we actually were maxed out with our recreation program. We had a waiting list for quite a few of our programs. So there's definitely a huge interest. And with the opening of Motion Junction at Outhouse Park West, we're hoping for 2023 to actually increase some of our programming. So it's definitely something we're continuing to work on. Our senior recreation program, in partnership with Quail Summit, I think has been a great success. I don't know, Karen, if you want to weigh in on that, since you're, a big part of that, but we've had a great.
Yep, I agree with you. I think it's a really, it's on its way to being a success. Quail Summit has been very welcoming to the group, both the senior facilities in the city and our little group from the town, which is now up to give or whatever day it is, as many as 12 to 14 people. So slowly but surely we're increasing. We have a really exciting program for next year that's all planned out for the twice monthly events at Quail Summit. I think it's successful.
Yeah, I think it's been a really great thing that we started to implement this year. A lot of engagement. Some of the bigger events that are held at Quail Summit, we could have a crowd of 40 to 50 people, and it's fun activities. It's engaging. It's great to get people out. So I think that's been a huge win for us this past year. And Karen, thank you for helping to facilitate a lot of those meetings too.
Oh, yes, they're fun.
They are fun. They are fun. They're amazing. Couple other things that I wanted to touch base on too, just, we're continuing with the Auburn Trail. I know that's been a huge topic with the, connectivity of the trails. So that's something that, next year we're still working on some easements and some more studies, is my understanding.
Yeah, so I can talk about the northern part that we've been working on with Fisher Associates, the part that will run from Purdy Road down Brickyard Road to Thomas, and then at that point south to Outhouse Park is where MRB is working on it. So the northern section that we're doing with Fisher, we thought we had it pretty good and we're ready to send the plan to the town board, but there were some pushback from some residents and property owners on the proposed path of the trail going around the east side of the mobile home park on Purdy Road. And so now Fisher, Emily Smith from Fisher is going to provide us with an updated map that would avoid that parcel and potentially send the trail down the west side of Brickyard Road until potentially come back across to utilize the trails next to the townhomes that loop around from Thomas and Brickyard. But once she gets that map, we're going to plan another public meeting, likely Zoom again, like we did before, because that worked well. And just to kind of let everybody know, hey, we had to change it, here's what the idea looks like now, and then take it from there. If it seems to be a positive response, then we can send the plan to the town board to see what they think too. That we may consider an additional mailing. We had done a mailing before that had gone out to the residents or property owners along Brickyard Road. It went to both sides, which was good because now since we're likely switching it to the west side of Brickyard Road, it won't be the first time they've heard of it. But unfortunately, it's not quite done yet. And hopefully by the beginning of next year, we can send that to the town board, because ideally, if the town board approves that plan, we can start looking at potential funding. We would have to go and get easements, but once the easements are in place, we could look at some funding for the actual engineering and the construction of the path, so fingers crossed.
I know I'm excited about that.
So I have a question, Sarah.
Yeah.
I know that new trails need to have some semblance of accessibility, and that it's not required for pre-existing trails. But some trails, it might be worth our while to look at making them partially accessible for handicapped or semi-handicapped individuals. And by that, I mean having sitting capability at some intervals, or I don't really know what I mean. I just would like to bring it to your attention that in my mind, I think everything should be accessible, and I know that's not realistic, but I'm also frustrated that a lot of things are not accessible, and I speak for the public because I can get around fairly well, and there are people who cannot, but just try, when we're doing these things, let's try to keep that in mind. And I know that it was kept in mind with Blue Heron Park, which I think is a real success. And I just want to bring it forward for us to be cognizant of at all times.
Karen, I think you've been a really great advocate for that. I mean, when it comes to all the planning we've been doing, since like the spring and summer and going forward, accessibility is the number one thing in mind that we have to make sure that people can enjoy our parks, And I know something I forgot to mention is for next year, we're actually slated to pave actually the current trails around Outhouse Park, so around the Pirate Ship Park. Which will also help with that increased accessibility. But that's just one example. But that is definitely where the town's mind is at, is how we can do these little things to make the park more appealing for everybody. And I think you've been a great advocate to that.
And Outhouse was one of the areas I was thinking of, because there are, I hate to use the word elderly, but there's old people that come to our senior group, and they walk Outhouse Park, and they have mentioned that there are times when the walking there is difficult. I think it would be good if part of Outhouse Park was paved, because when I'm there, I see people walking their dogs and walking off of the trail and letting the dog go to where the water is, et cetera, et cetera. I think that back area could stay the way it is, but I would like to see an area perhaps around the bocce courts that is just completely paved, and makes it easier for people that have accessibility issues to at least get some exercise there.
Absolutely, Karen, and that is the plan for next summer, which I'm really excited for us to do, especially with Motion Junction across the street.
Exactly, yes.
It'll really connect both parks, together. But yes, honestly, thank you for always advocating for that. It's definitely something in the forefront of our minds as we plan ahead, and including our trails that we're going to be putting in.
Yeah, the Auburn Trail, we want that to be accessible, but the cool part too is that if we want to seek federal funding for that, which is the goal, we would have to, even if we didn't already want to do it. And as far as the feds are concerned, I don't know all the details, but it's 10-foot wide paths that are, they have certain standards. I don't think the entire thing has to be concrete or anything like that, but the width is defined and the surface is defined as far as accessibility. So that's the plan for that section. I can't remember if the design for the southern portion of MRB is the same, but.
And I know that new trails have to be have some sort of accessibility. And I used to walk the trail in Farmington and part of Victor, and they had and I think it was Boy Scouts did benches along the way, which were a real nice thing to have happen, and not just for people who had difficulty walking, but I'd see people sitting there, you know, with their lunch sometime, just being able to enjoy the trail, walk and carry their lunch in and out, and be able to sit and enjoy it. So I really hope there are some on our portion of that trail.
Yeah, I wrote down benches on my notes because we hadn't talked about that yet. We had just focused on, you know, where the trail was going to be and what the surface would look like and stuff like that. But I like the idea of benches.
And it's a great Boy Scout Eagle project. You know, they love doing stuff like that.
Thank you, Karen. One more exciting thing that I would like to share with everyone, it's a current project we are just wrapping up, is actually at Outhouse Park. So we are putting in, as you guys heard, I believe when I spoke in spring, we were adding an additional pirate ship playground fixture. So it took a while for it to come in, but it did. And thanks to our wonderful highway crew and all of their support and help, they put additional drainage in that area. Obviously with all the heavy rains, we had a lot of water, and then they were able actually to help us put it together, install it, you know, in addition with my team. And we were waiting on one last part that came in last week. So we are on the tail end of finishing that project. It is a gorgeous playground. There's a ton of interest from a lot of the children in the area. I saw it on Canandaigua Chronicle, so moms are very excited about it as well. So the kids can have little pirate ship battles and just increase the play there. Just got to create a great experience. So we're very, very excited to have that open to the public and have more kids play. I mean, it's one of our most popular parks. It gets congested. Having an additional playground feature is going to be huge. And with that too, with that in mind, we also talked about additional picnic area around the entire portion of that playground, and having accessibility actually from the other side of the trail to it. So a lot of thought is going into that. So that should be done within the next couple weeks and then open to the public once it's all done and safe and the mulch is put on there. So we're super thrilled to have that. And if you haven't checked it out, we will be posting pictures on Facebook, or if you just drive by there, you'll be able to see it. That's something super exciting for us. But other than that, that's a quick overview of all the things that we've been working on from a parks perspective. And then going into next year, we're excited just for that planning piece and just continuing to increase the usage of our parks.
And I have a question, Lindsay, about Ononda. Now that the season is pretty much over, the gate to the lake is still always closed, as far as I see, and I drive by there pretty much every day, is usually closed. Is there a reason why it can't be opened for someone to drive down to the lake?
I don't think so, Karen. I know we do allow people to use that area for like winter fishing and such.
Yeah.
So I know Jeff Winter does keep it open, but we can discuss keeping it open permanently for winter.
I used to love going down there and just being able to get out of my car. There used to be a picnic table down there. You could get out and you could just sit there and at least get some fresh air and some lake air. Otherwise, the only other place is the city pier.
Yeah, no, that's definitely something that we can do, Karen. That's actually a really good call out.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. Does anyone else have questions? Go right ahead.
Speaking of Onanda, I think our former governor was a no-show on turning it over to us. Do we own 100% of Onanda yet?
We're working on it.
Yeah, the last I heard is that it was between the lawyers and there was a last piece that they were just waiting on, something very small. That was the last update I received.
Wasn't the governor scheduled to come here and turn it over to us?
I don't know.
Doug? No, he's sleeping.
I'm here. No, there was never anything scheduled, but it's, as Lindsay said, or Sarah said there, we're just waiting on the attorneys to wrap it up. It's actually, the holdup is not on our end. It's in Albany with the DEC commissioner signing off on it.
But soon,
Soon
enough.
One of those days, huh?
One of these days.
On our last newsletter, I noticed something about catch and release fishing
Yes.
at Blue Heron.
Yep.
Why catch and release, and what kind of fish are in there?
Oh my gosh, we have a ton of fish. So we have bass, there's sunnies, perch are in there. The reason for catch and release is because that is actually a retention pond. So it's all the residual water coming from 332. So we just would not recommend.
Don't want to eat them.
Yeah, we would not recommend catching them and then eating them just
Okay.
because of the water and where it is. It's not as fresh as the lake. But we just wanted to share that you are able to fish over there and it is plentiful. If you just sit there on a nice, Saturday morning, you can see the fish jumping, which is crazy. And it's a great family event to do.
That's interesting. It's
You wouldn't think, right?
too bad it's dirty water or whatever, because it's not healthy.
Right.
It's easy to get to, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Does the library still have their fishing poles?
Yep.
No, they do?
Yep.
Because that would be a nice little,
Yeah, partnership.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I noticed that the other day. They're
Were they
by
in
the
the back?
stairs where
Yes.
you go up there.
Okay.
I didn't
They
realize
got
they
with
did
They do that.
That's
I thought
awesome.
that's.
little
that's
teeny
really-
bobbers and
Yeah.
And the Lions Club used to have a children's fishing tournament every year on the city pier.
Yeah.
Now that you're saying that Outhouse has, or that Blue Heron has oodles of fish there, that would be a perfect spot for them to hold a children's fishing tournament. It's easily accessible. On the city pier, I always worry that some poor little kid's going to fall into the channel there, and which is very deep. But you might want to contact them and offer that to them if we're able to do something like that.
should have a goose hunt at
Yeah, right, that too.
You catch one, you can take it home.
You can eat the
Once we
geese.
put a muzzle on it.
I like the way you think.
Maybe that's what we should do for Easter. Easter
Cruise
cruise hunt.
Just a reminder, no guns on town property. Anyone else have questions or anything, any comments?
What about schoolhouse? Did we do anything there this year?
We do. I don't think anything super new to my knowledge. We did have a couple of our summer camp programs over there. We had some art
Oh, the
programs, and we're gonna continue to do that next year as well. We did actually, I'm sorry, yes, thank you for bringing that up. So the stairs, we have more accessible stairs going into the water.
And
Obviously,
those are great. Those are great.
yes, we've received tons of compliments. Our lifeguards made sure to scrub them off so the algae wasn't there to just reduce the slipping, but they are way better than what we had before. So if you guys haven't checked them out, I would recommend, obviously not now, it's a little cold. But next summer, just come on down, swim, enjoy the new stairs. That beach is a lot more popular, I think, than some people realize. Every time I drove past it or stopped over, you had at least a dozen residents over there just enjoying the sunbathing, enjoying lunch on the greenery near schoolhouse, and then enjoying the swimming.
What's the status, if any, on purchasing RSM's lakefront?
I'm not sure. Do you?
That's a Doug question.
Yeah, we can.
Let me jump in there for a quick second. I'm right here. I'm just going through emails, and just getting back. So hi, everybody. So really, Tom, there's no real status on that. So the town executed a purchase option on the parcel. The town board authorized me to enter into an agreement relative to a purchase option on the parcel, but the town board has not supported exercising that option. So essentially, it's nowhere.
Okay. Thank you.
Great questions.
And again, the overwhelming concern by residents in regard to lake access is there. It's just finding the right parcel.
Yeah.
And we're all aware of that.
Yeah. We want lake access.
What about the kiosk?
How about tree team? That was also on the agenda for today.
Was it? Did I forget that?
Anything new on trees?
Yeah, sure, I can update you on the tree team. So our tree project team, there's probably about 4 consistent members. Edith Davy, Dennis Brewer, Dan Marion, and Gary Kogersberger from the ECB sometimes comes. So does Eric Obenauer from the ECB. And they are still meeting regularly. They've continued to tour every park and cemetery, and now sometimes they're going back to the beginning to see what they look like now as opposed to when they first started touring them last year. And so we're continuing to provide feedback to Lindsay and her team on what trees need to be trimmed or cut and so forth or planted. They did an Arbor Day planting last April. I think we're planning on doing that again next April in the spring. I'm not sure if a place has been picked, but we'll get feedback from Lindsay on where that should go. Dan Marion is an arborist, and he has very graciously offered to train our park staff for free on the proper trimming of trees, which is something they, I think, wanted to do. And since they end up being the ones who do the bulk of that, we thought that was pretty nice of him. The team's also working on making a list of recommended species for planting to be used by us. Like when we go to purchase new trees for parks, or if we need to replace an old tree, a list that would have recommendations for, okay, I've got this kind of soil and it's in this part of town, what should I plant? And
If I'm not mistaken, that's how we chose the trees for Outhouse Park West.
actually, yeah, we just asked Dan what we should plant because he looked at the list that the landscaper had provided and he said, no, they're probably not gonna survive. The other thing, and the list of trees, the city of Canandaigua has a list like that. And so they kind of took theirs and they're changing it and updating it. And they're gonna make one for us that is kind of like here's a recommended list. But we also thought it would be nice to provide that maybe on the ECB page for residents too, because it should be fairly comprehensive and useful, not just, hey, this one looks pretty and it's big, but this one looks pretty and it grows fast and it's big and it works in our soils, or it might be good for a slope, or it might be good for a big open grassy area and stuff like that. So, it's a small group, but they're active and they're dedicated, and they're very knowledgeable. So it's been going well.
I have to commend you for getting Dan Marion involved. He's been taking care of my trees for years and really literally saved my large tree. And he's just a wonderful asset. Tad expensive, but if he's doing it for free, you're lucky.
Yeah, I should say there's 2 Dan Marions. Senior is technically on our group, but he never comes, but Dan Marion Jr. is the one who comes all the time.
Dan Marion Jr. is the one that comes up. He or Joe come up to my house.
Yeah, he's very knowledgeable and he's really been helpful, and he's just given so much of his time just because he wants to help.
That's because of his dad, though.
But yeah, it's been good.
That's good.
That's pretty much all I have on trees.
all I got on parks right now.
Good short meeting.
Oh, yeah, it's only 9:30. Does anyone have any questions about plans for parks, plans for trails, plans for trees for next year? I mean, I think we mostly covered it, but in case I might have forgotten something.
I can just update you that Pierce Brook subdivision,
Yeah.
that's gonna be, it's on for final review at our December 14th planning board meeting, and those trails are going to be open to the public, and it will be a nice link to Miller Park.
Awesome. That's huge.
Yep, so they're gonna go from Miller down along kind of the edge of the stream, which is on the Pierce Brook property, meander through the development, and then be a nice link on Parish Street Extension.
Will the trail loop back on itself?
Right now, it doesn't loop back on itself, but we're looking at how it's gonna, we want it to loop back up by a stormwater management pond, which is up on the north side.
Because everybody loves a circle trail.
That's absolutely what we talked about for running and, just to feel a sense of accomplishment where you.
Instead of having to turn around and go back
Absolutely.
the way.
Yeah, right now it dead ends at the stormwater management pond, but we're working with Jeff to kind of take it all the way around, and then at a few places it'll link to the sidewalks, but it's really gonna be nice.
Is there any trail going out to Bristol Road?
Bristol Road,
Yeah,
21?
21.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, where,
Yes, it'll come up, there'll be a small parking area on 21,
across from Miller.
right, and then it'll come over.
So is there any discussion on talking to the state about putting in striping for a crosswalk across the road to Miller?
We have not talked about that.
Because we are kind of saying that we're linking the two. We probably should try and find a way to actually link it.
Good idea.
Speaking of crosswalks, I see that Happiness House has built a sidewalk right to the
To the
boundary
edge.
of Motion
They have.
Junction. Should we have a crosswalk that goes east across to the other part of outhouse?
I think that's in the plan,
Okay.
certainly.
So
Right.
this, Shauna, this new trail, because it's a new trail, is the developer thinking in terms of accessibility on that trail?
Yes, there, absolutely, and that's a huge discussion that it's ongoing. There are parts of that trail that it just do not warrant paving. It would be too expensive, the maintenance would be, over the top. But there are places that are flat and, with mounted curbs that can access from the sidewalk to the trail that will be much more accessible.
Good.
Yeah, and it's really probably gonna be a mixture of different surfaces, just depending on where it is. I think that's really what's gonna happen.
Thank you. That's gonna work out well.
I think so too.
And now, eventually, we need to put sidewalks down Parish Street
Parish.
Extension to meet up with where they stop on the other side of 5 and 20, and then you can connect
You could have a whole-
trails into the city.
Yep.
One day.
Right.
Does anyone else have any other questions, parks, trails, or otherwise? This may be a record short meeting.
Great.
Thank you both. Thank you, Lindsay.
Of course, thank you for having
We
me.
love talking about parks.
Parks make me happy.
It is, it's fun stuff.
Yeah, it is. My kids are gonna be so excited.
I know.
Yeah, we've driven by the pirate ship,
I
the new
know.
one, and
I'm sad my kids are older now. That used to be their favorite park
that's our
several years
favorite.
ago, and we don't go anymore, but I almost want to tell them, hey, there's a new pirate ship, but they won't care now. But I love that park. So let's see, our next meeting is going to be, I think, the 21st of December, and that's the meeting that I had talked to Jared about getting an update from the ECB. And I'll reach back out to him, but he said, yes, they'll have something. I'm not sure whether it'll be Jared or Pat, maybe you'll get designated, but we will have an update from them.
Well, we should have our annual report done by then.
Yeah.
Maybe that would be a good,
Yeah, I think he wanted to share some stuff too.
okay.
But then, yeah, and then we can wrap up with, finalizing the schedule for next year too, so. All right, well, thank you, everybody. Unless anyone has any other questions or comments, that's all we've got for today. All right, live bunch. All right, thanks, guys. Till next time.
Okay, thank you.